Hey, what's up you guys? How's it going? It's Papa, and today I'm going to be showing you guys a very different kind of deck profile. I want to start off with a little disclaimer though, that this is not my deck. It is a pure Therion slash Brave deck that I found on Zodiac from a guy that ended up getting his invite with it at a regional. And I always wanted to go ahead and try out his list. I did try his list card for card, and then I ended up swapping some cards to make the deck just a little bit different. I really like this deck. It does a lot more than I thought it would. It is a go second base strategy, so with it, you do play a lot of going second cards, and it does actually have a really good matchup with a lot of like different decks in the format right now, and it doesn't lose the Scythe, which is something that not a lot of people can say. For this deck profile, I'm going to be structuring it just a little bit different than what I'm used to. I'm going to be like showing it based off of the engine pieces as opposed to laying it out monster spell trap. I'm just going to be showing like the engine parts. But starting off for the deck, we do play 3 copies of Berea. This card is really insane. What it does is that you can send a card from your hand to the field, or hand or field to the graveyard, and then you can add a Therion spell or trap from the deck to the hand. And then all the Therions have a really cool effect to where if they're attached with a different Therion, then they get to gain the second effect of that Therion. So we've played 2 copies of Regulus to complement that. And with it, so like basically if you have the Regulus here but you have the Lily equipped to it, people that still don't know what the Therions do, you can still activate the second effect to add a card. So it's really good. Regulus is basically your big daddy, your big negate, so you want to be able to set this up when it does come to your turn, basically acting as just an omni negate for when it goes back to your opponent. But you only play 2 of it because you don't want to brick on it. You do have to basically equip Therions from the graveyard to make your Therion cards work. You're not playing like machines or plants or anything to complement these. You're basically just equipping a Therion card every time with it. Going along with them, we play the 1 Duke. This is the one that protects them from spell and trap destruction, which is like it's all right. Or not spell and trap destruction, it's just from card effects. But this one's all right. I kind of want to play a second bowl instead. The bowl is really good because what it does is that it basically, like, you target a card on the field that you control and that your opponent controls, and you just destroy them. So it's basically just like a 1-for-1. I kind of want to play 2 of this instead of the Duke because the Duke never really comes up. It's not an effect that really activates, which can be useful, but at the same time, I think just having a second bowl would be better. It also just has a better like stat lineup, so I think that's why you would want to play the Duke. But I think going forward, I might try 2 bowl. I'm not too sure yet. And then I played the 1 Reaper. This is just as an extra name, and then it's just an extra attribute because we are playing all the Earth Charmers in the extra deck, but I'll get to that a little bit later when we get to it. To complement the rest of the Therions, we played the 3 copies of Discoliseum. This is your Searcher. It is one of the most cracked cards in the deck. Being able to send a Therion card to prevent destruction on one of your cards once per turn is really nice. Also really nice is Endless Argo System. You definitely play 3 of this because it is your main form of getting your Therions onto the board. So basically what you want to do is you want to open up any Therion card in this, and you basically have full combo. I say combo very lightly because there's not a whole lot of comboing that you do with this deck, but it's basically just there to help you set up for when it does go back to your opponent's turn and they're not able to play. Complementing that, I put the 1 Terraforming. I have it with the Therion engine because it's basically just another Colosseum and we don't play another field spell in the deck. And then the 1 Cross. This card's actually really nuts because when you do have the Argo system in the graveyard, this acts as a negate and destruction. So, or not destruction, negate and banish. So it's basically a Mechaba as long as you have a Therion card on the field. So that's going to round up the Therion engine of it. Very simple, very self-explanatory, I want to say. For the Brave cards, again, like everyone should know what Brave cards are, but we put the 1 Griffin Rider, 1 Illegal Knight. This card's really cracked because it is even better when you go second. You mainly want to play Illegal Knight for going second strategies mainly because what it does is you target up to 2 cards your opponent controls, and then you give this to your opponent, and then you bounce those cards back to the opponent, I'm sorry. And basically pairing this with Draco back, you just get to bounce back your Illegal Knight, so that way you can just keep recurring that during the rest of the match. But I mean, arguably when you resolve this once, it's probably going to be the game by then. But complementing that, we play the 3 copies of Enchantress. You kind of have to max out on this because you're just playing Brave and Therion cards. So you don't really have a whole lot of monsters in the deck, but you need to max out on the ones that are very crucial. So Enchantress just gets you there. Speaking of getting there, we have the right. You're basically just trying to get to right. Fateful, Foolish because it sends Enchantress to get you to right. and then the Draco back. So very self-explanatory. Brave lineup, we played the 10 Brave cards, or Adventure, I guess, if you want to call it. But basically, as long as you open up right, you're going to probably be in a really good position. Going second, it is kind of hard to determine because it's, again, it's always weird. It's always hard to test when you're going second if you're not playing online. If you're just kind of doing test hands at home, it's really hard to like base off that strategy because you never know what your opponent's going to end on. But I do like this deck so far. It has been doing really well online, and I've debated on taking it to locals, but I also have to make the time for locals. So it really just depends. For the rest of the spells, so non-engine cards, I should say. These are just like more supporters. 3 copies of Extravagance. You really don't care about your extra deck. You're really just summoning a big bunch of bodies anyway. You're not really trying to go for game when you're going second. You're just trying to get as much removal, as much interruption away from your opponent as possible, and trying to make it to where their follow-up is not as strong as your follow-up. So complementing that, we do play 3 copies of Lightning Storm in the main deck as well. If you haven't noticed already, this is not a budget deck. This is a very, this is basically just not for the budget people. I do apologize. But if you want like a meta killer and you're trying not to lose the Scythe, I would say try this deck out because it is a lot of fun. We also play 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. You could play Droplet. I opted not to play Droplet because I wanted to have as many cards in my hand as possible to play with. And I found Dark Ruler just being the best result for that because just being able to activate it, everything's negated. Don't have to send any cards for cost. You don't have to like really worry about too much of anything after that. It's just really good bait too as well. But Dark Ruler mainly gets you there. We play Call by the Grave still, just in case like if for some reason you go first, or like you still want to make sure your combos go off anyway. If they like try to crow you, or if they Ash, you name it, like whatever the situation is, you always just don't Call by the Grave. Even though it's at 1, it's still a ban-worthy card. Like you just need to play it. And then that's it for the spells. And then the last cards I'm playing in the main deck, I'm playing 3 copies of Evenly Matched. This is what he was doing as well. And I really like this idea because, again, you're going second. You're not really trying to focus on killing them. So, like, if you compare Evenly Matched with the Dark Rulers, it's kind of, like, equivalent to doing Dark Ruler Raigeki. But the problem with Dark Ruler and Raigeki is that depending on the matchup, they're still going to have, like, Graveyard Recursion. And as good as that is, like, you don't want that to happen. So you want to be able to just get rid of everything if you can, because again, you can't OTK them unless your hand's like absolutely godly, or if they just pass for turn. So you're basically just pairing Dark Ruler evenly. If you resolve this, you're probably winning the game. But that's it for the main deck. It's a nice even 40 cards. It's very self-explanatory. It's just Brave cards and Therion cards just doing their thing with like some friends on the side. But moving on to the extra deck is basically where I'm going to like show you how much it doesn't matter, because these cards really don't matter too much. They can literally just be 15 random cards if you want, but I'm playing a couple different decks, so that's why it's different. We play 2 Link Spider because I'm playing Scapegoat in the extra deck, or not this extra deck. I'm playing Scapegoat in the side deck, so I play the 2 copies of Link Spider just to help lane climb for when they make me go first. But 2 Spider, again, we play all the Charmers, so we play 1 Dark, 1 Lina, 1 Hida, 1 Area, 1 Asa, and 1 Wind. This is something that he was doing as well in his deck, and I really like the idea of it because with all the Therions you play, they are all different names. The only Dark that you play in the main deck, though, is the Illegal Knight. So you're not really making Dark a lot of the time, so when it gets banished off Extravagance, it's like, hey, cool, no biggie, it happens. But you mainly do it to just link climb anyway, like that's what all these cards are in here for. 1 copy of Phoenix and 1 copy of Unicorn. These are just generic removal cards that you need in your extra deck, I feel. 1 Ningirsu. You don't have to play this. I kind of like the idea of it. I really like being able to just link climb and then go into Access Code Talker after this. It's also just non-target removal, which is really, really good. Playing Boral Sword and Access Code Talker as well. You could play the Underworld Goddess if you'd like, but I found Boral Sword to just be better during testing, and it has come up a few times where I have made it, and with Scapegoat, again, like it makes it to where you get that 1 card Boral Sword or get that 1 card Access Code. I think the one thing that I want to change is that like the Scapegoat tokens are really good just to make Asa, but I want to try fitting like a Lanfornicus or like fitting a Security Dragon, something that can just like be more useful to go into my Access Code Talker. But Other than that, for the last 2 cards in the extra deck, I am playing Super Poly as well in the side deck. So I do play the Draco Sepelia and the Fusion Dragon for that reasoning. But that's it for the extra deck. I'll just show you the side deck real quick briefly. This is just what I have been playing with online. I play 3 copies of Droll. Self-explanatory, this is probably my favorite side deck card of the format right now because it hits almost every deck. Don't get me wrong, there's matchups where this isn't good against, but this is good against like Flowenderies, Despia, Drytron mainly. It has a lot of good usages. 3 copies of Nibiru. Like, this is debatable. You could play Kaijus instead. I kind of want to toy around with playing Kaijus because of Marincess and Ignister. They are really heavy decks in the format right now, and they're just something to where, like, if you don't figure it out, you're gonna automatically lose to them. So I wanted to make sure I had like some kind of like removal or some way of getting rid of that. But I've been playing online mainly. I haven't been playing at like locals or anything, so I found Nibiru just to be fine. 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. These are also debatable. Like, this is just again something I've just been playing with. You could play Twin Twister, you could play like Reboot, Feather Duster, whatever you want to play. I just found Cyclone just to be fine because like if my opponent like anti-spells me in the main phase and I just don't have a way of getting rid of it, I kind of just lose. So I want to make sure that I have like some extra kind of removal. And then the part that makes this deck really good is the 3 copies of Scapegoat and then the 3 copies of Super Poly. So he wasn't playing either of these in his extra deck or in his side deck, and I found that these cards are actually just really strong. Scapegoat, again, just being able to make that 1 card Boral Sword or that 1 card Axis Code Talker is just really nice. Super Poly, just being able to get rid of any opponent's board. It's basically just all you really need. But yeah, guys, that's going to actually go ahead and do it for the deck profile. I really do like the idea of this deck. It is something just nice and easy to play for the format if you are trying to take a break, if you're not going to Nats and you just want something to play at locals. It's super fun. I do enjoy playing this deck a lot. Again, it's all just been from playing online. So the matchups are always just going to be based off of what you're used to playing. If you're taking it to locals, just take it based off of what your local environment is. Mine is a lot different than what it is online. So if I was going to locals, a lot of these cards would probably be different. Maybe not the main deck. I really do like the main deck count. I think these cards are really solid in the main. But again, this was not my idea. This was from a guy on Zodiac that I happened to see, and I don't take any credit for this deck. This was all his idea, and it's just something I think that is really fun to play. So without further ado, guys, yeah, that's it for the deck profile. And until next time, this has been Papa, and I will catch you all in my next video. Take care, everyone.